greetings, everyone. I just can't understand what it is about the Trump administration that hates the American middle class or American consumers so much that they want them to be the victims of predatory financial products. And no one comes here to Congress and says, we want toasters to burn down our house. So in general, the Consumer Product Safety Commission is not controversial. I don't know why the CFPB is controversial. Back in Oregon, I took on the payday lenders, and we knocked them out of our state. When I came here, Senator Dodd asked me to jump into the battle to end predatory mortgages. Senator Klobuchar was very involved in this as well. And some of the things that we pursued were getting rid of the triple option loans and the exploding interest loans, the prepayment penalties that meant you were locked into an exploding interest rate, and the steering payments that went back to mortgage brokers secretly, in which they were incentivized to steer people into bad loans. And Ms. Salas, have you seen that the CFPB over time has managed to maintain I guess you will, the fairness and integrity of home mortgages so that the dream of home ownership is indeed a dream, not a nightmare?
Yes, certainly. It is a fundamental part of the mission of the Bureau and of the staff at the CFPB to make sure that mortgages are fair, that homeowners are not at risk of losing their homes because of unfair terms in their loans.
And without the CFPB on the case, are we going to see the potential return of predatory mortgages that turn the dream of homeownership into a nightmare?
I think that we are going to put every American at risk, and we could end up in another financial crisis.
Wouldn't it be an enormous disservice to Americans across the board to allow that to happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I often hear the number, and Elizabeth has made sure it's burned into our minds that the CFPB has written checks to American families of some $21 billion. But if those practices had not been stopped, how much more would American families have lost? I guess the question I'm asking, yes, checks were written, but because you all are policing predatory practices, I've always thought for every dollar where a check is mailed out, maybe another $5 is saved in advance of families that never have to go through the predatory experience. Is there any sense, do you have any sense, is there any estimate of how much has been saved because of the good regulation of financial products?
I haven't done the math and haven't seen anyone's math, but I think what you're saying is very true. The impact of the work of the Bureau is incalculable. The moment we go and we show what are illegal practices by some of the biggest banks, you see that other banks fall in line and change their practices. And so we're benefiting a lot more American people than we are actually directly touching in our cases.
Well, I'm just going to continue to say I think at least $5 is saved for every dollar the check's written out. So I'm giving you credit for over $100 billion to the Americans. And it's just so much better to stop those predatory practices in advance and have to struggle after the fact. I'm noting your story, Ms. McCall, and all you went through, the torture you went through, the persistence you had to exercise in order to try to get fairness on transporting your car and your title. The goal, when your complaint is filed, also what CFPB does is says, how can we prevent this from happening to others so they never go through it in the first place? We are going to lose all of that with the shutdown of the CFPB. And I just don't understand how it is that Trump hates fairness for consumers. But it comes down to this. His philosophy is families lose, billionaires win, and we are united in saying that is a terrible vision for America. We want billionaires to pay their fair share, and for families to have a strong foundation to thrive.